Alright, let's get into it.
If you're watching this video, you may be a psychopath. Well, scientists just found something seriously disturbing inside the brain of psychopaths. Now stick with me and share this with a friend. So brain scans in a study that was just conducted that has revealed that people with psychopathic traits may actually have a reward center in the brain that's around 10% larger than normal people. Now that sounds pretty small, like what do you mean? But then you realize what that part of the brain actually does. So this area of the brain is called the stratum. And this part of the brain is actually the area that's linked to motivation, decision making, risk, impulse, and of course thrill seeking. Basically your risk versus reward part of the brain, or your fight or flight, and also the area that, lets you have fun. So researchers are saying that this could actually explain why psychopaths constantly chase risk. The reason they're power hungry or they want control is because they weren't just raised in some other way or born with a condition. This part of their brain is actually physically larger than other people and is literally wired for them to crave more intensity. Now the study that was conducted did MRI scans on over 120 patients, comparing people with psychopathic traits and without. And well, the difference was very clear. Now, the important part behind all of this, it doesn't mean that if someone has a brain scan and a part of their brain's bigger than someone else, this person's a psychopath. No, it just means that scientists may have actually found a physical clue for the behavior and some kind of explanation. Because a brain region where rewards actually feel stronger, consequences feel weaker, and the danger feels very exciting, that's terrifying, and that makes a psychopath. And well, for the first time ever, it suggests that psychopathy might not just be a personality trait, it's actually a structure built into the person.
Well, you don't have to worry about me being a psychopath. There's absolutely no part about my brain that is large. I'm just one step above a troglodyte.
A massive dust cloud, thousands and thousands of miles large, is headed towards the United States. Yeah, so this dust cloud, which came from the Sahara Desert, is over the Atlantic Ocean on the way to the US, starting in the southeastern United States and going up the coast. Now, nobody really knows for sure what's in that dust, but obviously it came from sand that's in the desert. But there's a big problem if this goes over the US, especially the southeastern United States. Because of the rain, the tropical storms, the possible hurricanes in the area, could take all that dust, which you shouldn't even be breathing anyway, and bring it down to Earth, down to the land itself, and whatever those particles are that's in it will now be on the ground where you walk, you drive, or whatever you do. And like I said, this cloud of dust on its way to the US is thousands and thousands of miles large. Who knows what this could do to farmland, animals, or people? Hopefully it just all flies over and it doesn't really affect our breathing, at least too much. But you never know, because this isn't really something anybody plans for.
This is actually the first time hearing about this today. I looked it up and sure enough, it does say here that there's massive plumes of Saharan dust sweeping across the Atlantic and is soon to reach the southeastern side of the US. They're calling this phenomenon the Saharan air layer. And also, I'm kind of surprised how many comments in this video are saying that this is something that happens every year. I am not familiar with this happening every year. For me, this is more of a new thing that's been happening the past couple of years, but this is not something that's happened every year. It kind of makes me think that there's something else going on at play. Maybe they're releasing particles in the sky and they're just calling it the Saharan air layer? I don't know, maybe I'm diving too far off the deep end on that one. Let me know what you guys think. Hey, if you haven't done so already and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this 2 times a day, Monday through Friday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know about the birthplace of the Cabbage Patch dolls. In 1976, a man named Xavier Roberts met a woman named Martha Nelson Thomas at a craft fair. He asked her to supply him with baby dolls to sell, and he wanted to sell them in Georgia where he lived and worked. Thomas briefly let him do this, but then she didn't like his shenanigans, I guess, so she sued him and got an undisclosed amount for selling her dolls. Xavier decided to make his own dolls, and he created a new version in 1978, which he originally called the Little People. In 1982, he licensed these new dolls dolls with a new name to Colco, and these were called the Cabbage Patch Kids. Now, my sister had a couple of these things. Whatever, it's a doll, but it goes much deeper than that. He traveled from state to state selling these dolls. He won some awards for them. After he licensed the brand and blew it up as the Cabbage Patch Kids, it went nuts. Only 2 years after Colco licensed these dolls in 1984, they'd already sold 20 million dolls. By 1995, they'd sold 95 to 100 million of these things. Xavier turned an old hospital in Cleveland, Georgia into the Babyland General Hospital as the birthplace for the Cabbage Patch dolls. That's not creepy at all. If you look at photos of this place, it gives me the ick. The people that want to go buy dolls from this place and adopt them is something quite odd. All the photos are just quite strange, with babies growing out of trees, rooms with storks and babies, people posing with the babies they just adopted. It's quite surreal. And if you go to the website, you can select the gender, the color of the hair, and dial in the details of the baby you want to adopt. But more importantly, the Cabbage Patch Kids go way back to the early 1900s. They're linked to the orphan trains. They're linked to postcards and advertisements put out that were part illustration and part photography to promote adopting children from orphanages, the orphan trains, and what other means that were going on. These postcards and promotions are eerie in themselves. These also echo the promotions for the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls that came out years later. I don't think Xavier was super smart in his promotions. I think he was picking up on the stuff back in the day that was not mainstream and tried to make it fun for people. These postcards were also referred to as repopulation postcards, Cabbage Patch postcards. They show babies being harvested from cabbage patches, harvested from plants, and hatched from eggs, which kind of links to the incubator babies of the World's Fairs. The level of weirdness goes on and on with this. There's also narratives of this kind of leaning into the fact that what if cloning was possible and was happening at the turn of the century? Hence, children being incubator babies or being put on orphan trains without parents, kids being sent out for indentured servitude. Due to the popularity of the Cabbage Patch Kids, Xavier was a multi-millionaire by the age of 26. Xavier also thought it would be really interesting to take an old hospital and make it an updated fake hospital for the babies, adding legitimacy to the backstory of these Cabbage Patch Kids being born, and this is the place where you could go adopt them. There's a lot of problematic stories and narratives with the orphan trains and the history of orphanages and asylums in America. But to distill it down to a doll and claim that it was your idea, when in fact at the turn of the century the Cabbage Patch Kids were promoted as something that you could buy or attain, is quite eerie, in my opinion. But what I want to know is what was going on in this hospital prior to Xavier buying it. You see, this was the Neal Clinic, which was built in 1919. It looks like an old plantation. I can't find any construction photos of it or much history about it. So what I want to know is what was happening in this hospital for the 60 years prior to Xavier buying it. I don't know. But I also want to know about those orphan trains and what the was going on at the turn of the century. And those dolls still creep me out. But what I really want to know, and I think it's absolutely time for us to know who on that list is going to jail first in America.
They definitely knew what they were doing once the name Cabbage Patch Kids came out and they started advertising it the way that they did. There's no way it was just coincidental. Now I just want to know what would have happened in the timeline where he never got sued. That lawsuit pretty much set him on a whole nother path. Also, I still have a couple of my childhood Cabbage Patch Kids. They're in storage, but I do have them.
Real alien shit. That's the description of a U.S. fighter pilot being swarmed by a jellyfish-like formation of drones right before his fighter jet went down in Iran. According to the New York Post, the pilot described multiple drones moving together as a single system, with smaller drones hanging beneath these larger drones, almost like jellyfish tentacles. And one source familiar with this whole incident said that the pilot's reaction was essentially, this was real alien stuff. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, intelligence is reporting this as a potential example of advanced drone swarm technology, not evidence of non-human intelligence. But the description itself is quite interesting. Because if you followed the UAP topic for any amount of time, the word jellyfish is probably quite familiar. Many people might immediately jump to the thought of the jellyfish UAP, that footage that was released by Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. Others might think of the Skywatcher group and the category of jellyfish UAP that they used for these, anomalous objects that they were seeing in the sky. Again, there's no direct comparison to these previous UAPs, but it is interesting that that description continues to come up. And in this specific case, advanced drone swarm technology, you've got multiple systems operating together in a way that can appear almost biological. And honestly, that alone can take you down some interesting paths of discussion. The Iran University of Science and Technology has reportedly developed an underwater drone inspired by a jellyfish, designed for various marine applications. It can be used for environmental monitoring, ocean research, and even military purposes. So using technology that mimics biological organisms is obviously not brand new. But the question is, if it brings you an advantage, how far can that idea really go?
I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. There is no reason why in modern day that these fighter jets do not have video equipment attached to them for us to be able to see what the pilot is seeing. That should not be anything in question. There should be high quality video equipment on these jets. There should be no reason why we're just taking what these pilots say for their word when we have technology that's capable of recording what they're seeing. I mean, you can strap a camera in their visor, for crying out loud. Have you ever heard of a GoPro? Sorry, this is just one of those things that enrages me because it's such a simple fix. It just makes no sense as to why they're not doing something like that. And I've had a few people come back at me and say, well, it's because of weight. They have to keep their aircraft at a certain weight limit. And that's mildly understandable, but come on now. Let me know what you guys think.
If you think the dead internet theory is as scary as I do, you need to watch this video because that is so fucking real. And it's insane. So this is a video. It's about the woman who walked into the water with the 2 dead fish. But just watch this. It's fucking crazy.
Y'all, as soon as I seen the video of the woman holding the 2 fish walking into the water, the first thing that came to my mind was Yemaya.
Two dead things.
Y'all, as soon as I seen the video of the woman holding the 2 fish walking into the water, the first thing that came to my mind was Yemaya. In addition to this,
She turns around. She's
2 dead fish in her.
y'all, as soon as I seen the video of the woman holding the 2 fish walking into the water, the first thing that came to my mind was y'all, as soon as I seen the video of the woman holding the 2 fish walking into the water, the first thing that came to my mind was Yemaya. In addition, y'all,
There was a video.
as soon as I seen the video of the woman holding the 2 fish walking into the water, the first thing that
There was a video.
the woman. So there's currently a video that's going viral, and
That is pretty much my content searching experience 100% on TikTok. That is basically what it's like looking for content on TikTok. It is awful. I mean, we're already in a world where content creators basically copy each other by reacting to videos that other content creators are reacting to. And that's bad enough as is. That's like its own form of slop content creation. But this is on a whole nother level. Literally, word for word, it's just a different image of a person that's AI generated to talk about the same subject. It's a pretty crazy world we're living in. I don't know if I necessarily believe it to be all dead internet theory, but it definitely does lead into a bigger part of it being a thing. At the end of the day, someone actually created those clips, a real person, or maybe even an AI that was directed by a real person, because someone's creating that content to clip farm and gain views to gain monetization with enough views. I mean, if you check out one of their channels, they probably have 300 other videos that's the same video with different level of views on it. So they're using these to make money. It's a weird world we're living in when it comes to the digital age. Honestly, just in general.
Now there are a couple of mysterious photos that I've been seeing lately. Very clear images that show an older man interacting with Bigfoots. The photos were taken outside of his cabin. One showing him holding a baby Sasquatch and another showing him posing with an adult. Both photos are shocking. Take a look. Like I said, the images are very mysterious, but this makes them super intriguing as well. Are these old found photos taken a while back, or are they newer? They seem to be at least a little bit older due to the picture coloration and graphics. But pretty much it's believed that this man, this unknown man, lived alone far out in the woods somewhere in North America. And because he was the only one out there for many, many miles, he eventually gained the trust of a remote Sasquatch population that lived out there. He befriended the undiscovered creatures, and the creatures accepted him, and he eventually decided to get pictures with them to make the memories last. This is just such a fascinating tale, the idea that Bigfoots and humans could live alongside each other and coexist. Obviously, none of these claims are confirmed because we don't know much information about this one. We don't know who the man is or who took these photos for him.
Overall, they're kind of realistic looking photos. I'm not saying that the things in the photo are realistic. That very large Sasquatch looking creature does kind of look like a suit. But the photos overall do look real. I have a feeling though that they are not. And also if they are real photos, they were taken at different times, because the one where he's holding the little Sasquatch, he's got more beard hair going on than the one where he's standing by the large Sasquatch. He's more groomed there. Overall, I'm not convinced of these being real, but they're pretty realistic looking. Let me know what you guys think.
So you're trying to tell me with everything going on in 2026, we now have to worry about a zombie outbreak? Apparently, over the last few days, multiple people have been claiming they're seeing zombies. And there are some seriously weird videos going around that I've come across, showing people allegedly eating raw meat, roadkill, and in a few clips, things that honestly look a little too big to be animals. There's one story that came out of North Carolina where a woman claimed she was walking with her husband and saw this other woman on the side of the road eating what looked like it was a raw deer carcass. And that report isn't the only one, like this video here, which shows someone doing something kind of suspicious. I'm not going to show what she's actually doing there, but you get the idea. And supposedly this started happening first in the UK, where a group of people claimed to have stumbled upon some zombie-looking creatures appearing to consume what looked like human remains. And just recently, there's been a rumor going around about a Walmart in Tennessee where somebody bit another person in the store, and the whole place was locked down and nobody could leave. The bite victim was taken to the hospital, where people are now claiming that this person started changing and trying to bite hospital staff. Now, I can't find anything verifying that story, so take it with a huge grain of salt. But do you remember a few years ago when the CDC released this zombie preparedness guide? They said it was just a fun way to teach emergency readiness, but what if they knew something that we don't? Now, a zombie outbreak like this in the movies, that's just fiction, right? But some have said if something like a zombie outbreak did happen, it wouldn't be the undead, but something more like a prion disease, like what happened to some deer, or mutated rabies, or a parasitic fungus like cordyceps that somehow evolved to cross over to humans, which isn't supposed to be possible. Now, this is probably just the internet doing what the internet does best, and there's nothing actually going on here, but with the way things have been going this year, who knows?
Oh, those are zombies, all right. Fentanyl zombies, a very special type of zombie. Honestly, one that's becoming more and more of a problem in the US and needs to be fixed. But yeah, not zombies in the traditional sense, just fentanyl zombies.
This is probably one of the most insane things I've heard in a while. They're going to be putting computers in space. Right. AI keeps getting smarter and everybody on Earth is pretty much using it. And if we keep using this more and more, we're going to need an insane amount of energy and an insane amount of computer power. And now there's one company who wants to solve this by putting data centers in space. Any guesses who? Now it sounds ridiculous, but it might actually happen and it might actually work. Right now, AI uses huge data centers on Earth and they consume, obviously, enormous amounts of energy and they generate a massive amount of heat, and that is where space comes in. Space. The idea is actually very simple. Put giant AI servers in orbit where they can actually then get almost unlimited solar power without getting any clouds or weather in the way at all, which is genius. And also stopping these computers getting too overheated. So in theory, it could provide a lot more clean energy to Earth than it being on Earth and be a lot more eco-friendly. But there's a huge catch, and I mean huge catch. Computers get extremely hot, as I just said, and cooling them down in space is actually harder than you probably think it is because there's no air to carry the heat away. And then there's radiation, so space debris traveling run faster than a bullet. And of course, the fact that if something breaks up there, you can't send a sky technician around there to fix it, can you? Especially if there's radiation and things flying at you the speed of a bullet. He ain't going up there. Oh, and also the cost, like billions, if not trillions. Like, it's not cheap. So while space-based data centers could be a thing of the near future, scientists still have some pretty big problems to solve first, so I'll keep you posted.
Or how about this? This is actually a really good idea that I've been thinking about for a while when it comes to bettering AI and the environment around it. Stop doing it. We don't need it, or at least we don't need any more than what we got. There should be no reason why we're wanting to put data centers on the moon. I mean, if anywhere, why are we not putting data centers in the ocean, which I do not agree with, do not think that I'm advocating for that. Just in a logistical, logical way of thinking, if water is one of the main aspects of keeping the data center cool, why not just have it completely submerged in the ocean? But regardless, ultimately, we could just end AI or pause AI or halt the progression of it because clearly we're not ready for it as far as the power consumption is required. It's way too expensive and nobody can afford the power grid that's going to get jacked up because of it. So I think the best thing to do with AI currently is just stop with it. Stay where you are if you want, but do not progress any further. We're good. At least that's my opinion.
Robots have demonstrated theory of mind. Now your immediate thought may be, no, that's not possible, or it's mimicked, or it's programmed, or it's an emergent quality of a problem-solving machine. And all of those things may be true, but we used to use these tests to determine if a child had reached consciousness, or if an animal was intelligent. It does demonstrate the capacity for intelligence, and we'll talk about it. This is the classic Sally Ann test, and it's used in psychology as a logic puzzle for children to demonstrate whether or not a child understands that some people have knowledge that other people don't. This involves 3 boxes and 3 cubes. Each one is a different color. The robot is not going to know which cube is in which box, but they will see who entered the room when a cube was put in the box. So let's imagine the robot sees Sally enter the room, and one of these cubes is missing, let's say the blue cube. And then Anne enters the room, and let's say the green cube is missing, and then Charlie, and so on. Each of those humans will vote on where, let's say, the blue cube has gone. You see where this is going. And the robot now has to decide who is most likely correct. The right answer is Sally, because she was the only one who was in the room when the blue cube was moved. Even if multiple people vote on a different box, the robot is still going to have to understand who would possibly have the knowledge of where it went. Yes, our little robot friend passes, and this is the level of consciousness that we expect from a 4 or 5-year-old child, and I'm not claiming that the robot is conscious, but it does demonstrate that you can program in a perception of self. It knows what it knows. It also knows what you know, so it's able to model the internal world of another human being. That is unprecedented. It's also really cool. What this may show is how arbitrary our tests for consciousness are in living creatures, because the goalpost is always going to be moved. And yes, robots have passed the mirror test. If you're not familiar, it involves recognizing yourself in a mirror. This requires inner speech, in which the robot determined what the qualities were of the mirror, what the qualities of itself were, and determined that it is looking at itself. Not saying it's conscious, but it is the classical test we use for consciousness.
I understand why people compare AI learning to child learning, but I just do not see it as being the same thing. To me, a child being a biological being, they're already equipped with components of being able to sense things, and they have emotions, and they're curious. They actually have the ability to experience the world themselves. And yes, parents educate and society molds them into the way that they are and or how they think, but a child is still growing and developing their own mind into their own person. AI is different because it responds and understands through a system that somebody has already built first. A programmer basically created the structure of the AI and gave it the rules to apply to. And at the end of the day, if AI gets to the point where it's so advanced that people believe that it has a consciousness, it's still operating inside a framework that was designed by people. A child does not need a programmer to teach them how to be conscious or curious. They literally can experience that without any kind of learning. It's just a natural thing. And if a computer cannot do that naturally without a programmer inputting those rules, then it's just not the same, at least in my opinion.
I have an interesting video for you today, but it's going to be one that you're going to have to decide for yourself if this is real or AI. This comes from an individual who's at a stop sign when they noticed something in the clouds above them, what appeared to be unidentified beings walking up there, and they caught it on camera. But we have to ask, is it real or not? With so many weird things going on around us, people catching them on video, it really makes you wonder. But take a look at this footage, comment below, and let us know what you think.
I'm gonna have to say that that's probably AI generated. Either that or the Silver Surfer's up there with his family. They also look like the figures from that game Mecha Chameleon, so who knows.
All Dollar Generals are haunted. Now, there's this thing going around where employees who have worked at Dollar General are coming forward and saying, yes, I've had really creepy experiences working at the Dollar General. Which also would make sense because a lot of these Dollar Generals stores are built in very remote locations, near cornfields, near forest. And there's even this wild theory that almost all Dollar Generals are built on top of cemeteries. But when you start to think about it, if they are building these Dollar Generals in just the most random places, it's very possible they're built on houses that were torn down, old farmhouses, and even possibly cemeteries. Now, people have reported things like stuff falling off the shelf, diapers being thrown across the store. They've heard disembodied voices, people calling their name at night when the store is closed. They go and look on the security cameras and no one is there, but they continuously hear their name being called. There was an employee who one night she was working and she happened to see someone walk in out of the corner of her eye. And at the time, she thought it was just a random person that had walked in after closing time. When she goes to look and see who this person is, she doesn't see anybody. So she goes into the office, she looks on the CCTV, and she sees this shadowy figure moving through the aisles. She runs out of the store screaming, and she quit that day. But the scariest story that I've heard of out of a Dollar General, there was this girl who said that weird things would happen from time to time at this Dollar General she worked at. And she said a couple weeks before this incident happened, she went in to open at like 6 a.m. And she said there was a receipt in one of the cash registers that was time-stamped 3:01 a.m. And she realized all of the systems had been reset at exactly 3:01 a.m. So she tells her boss, and they go and they look back at the security camera footage. And they see the lights flicker at the exact time this security system gets reset. And they see this shadowy figure moving towards the front of the store. So she said after that, that kind of freaked her out a little bit. Well, one night she was working late and she said it was like a Monday night. So there was absolutely no customers. She was sitting out front waiting for someone to come when she said she started to hear her name being called. She said it was really weird. It was coming from the woods next to the store. And it kept calling her name over and over again. So she got up and she kind of looked around. She didn't see anything. She said that's when she started to get this feeling like she was being watched by someone. So she ran inside the store and goes behind the counter. Well, she said as she's sitting there next to the counter, she sees the doors open. For a few seconds, they just sat completely open. And that's when she said she seen this man walk in. But this man looked exactly like her old manager named Mike, who had moved away to New York. And so she said she got up, walked around the counter, and started to follow him. And she said soon he just like disappeared. So she started yelling his name, Mike, Mike, is that you? Like, Mike, where are you? She said towards the back of the store, there was these doors that would swing open. She said she noticed them slightly moving. she hears her old manager, Mike, say, "Hey, come back here in the back rooms. I need to show you something." She said as she started to walk towards those swinging doors, she began to hear this grotesque, crazy scream coming from the back room. And she ran out of the store and she called her manager and said, "I will not go back in there ever again." So if you've worked at Dollar General or you've shopped at Dollar General, have you ever had a creepy experience?
Oh boy. So I have had a couple of creepy experiences at a Dollar General before. Not paranormal ones. Not paranormal ones either. Honestly, I've had one major creepy experience at Dollar General. Again, not paranormal. This took place in a small town in South Carolina called Pamplico. I used to live there quite a long time ago now. And in that town, there is a small Dollar General. And let me tell you, that place got me by quite a bit, because there's barely anything else in that town. Well, one day after work, I was going to Dollar General to get some ramen noodles. I remember this very clearly. And as I am looking at the ramen noodles, this older lady tapped me on my shoulder. And I've seen her before walking around town, and you could kind of tell that she was not mentally all there. Well, I looked. She had 2 needles sticking out of her arm with blood dripping out, and she asked me how my day was and if I needed any favors, if you will, of the sexual kind. I was scared. Honestly, I was really scared that she was about to take one of those needles out and stab me with it. That was the first thing that went through my mind when I seen her. I did ask if she was okay, and I did get with the store manager as well to make sure she was all right, but that freaked me out. One of the weirdest, creepiest interactions I've ever had in a store, and that store being Dollar General. I will never forget that day. And for anyone that's wondering, no, I didn't take her up on any offers. So don't even go there, you weirdos. But yeah, that was my creepy Dollar General story.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here.
What's up, everybody? Cloud here. On to today's subject. Now, I know I've been missing for about a week. Been going through a lot. So, anywho, so currently it's 9 p.m. And you can clearly see everything. The sun is just now setting, but it's the summer solstice. And the moon is out. And the sparkle. Hello. There he is. It's right there. Anyways, the sparkles are back. The fireflies, of course. But you need to go outside and touch grass for that, which a lot of y'all don't. And nobody listens to me. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go outside? See the fireflies. Touch some grass. See, there's daylight outside at 9 p.m. Oh, and also, there's been a development. So I might have found some more crystals and rocks. These, I've only done a rinse scrub on them. Those are soaking in that jar. And these, in the bucket and right there, those are the ones that have been cleaned multiple times and they're good to go. Should I go live and just clean rocks? Talk to people? I don't know. Y'all should let me know. Would y'all be interested in something like that? Like a little morning stream? Cleaning rocks and talking to people? I don't know. Y'all let me know. But anyway, thank everybody for stopping by. Surely do appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. Remember, Jesus loves you. Go outside. Touch grass. Look at the fireflies everywhere. Look at the moon outside. And the sun's still out at 9 p.m. Remember, y'all have a wonderful day.
Hey man, sometimes life just gets the better of us and we can't be on social media every day. Totally understandable. And you have quite the rock collection. Have you thought about possibly selling those? And I'm not even joking. I believe that there's actually a market for those rocks. Those are some pretty good sized rocks. Depending on how many you have in your yard, you could possibly be selling bagfuls of those for like $20, $30 a bag. You'd be surprised at how many people are interested in that. And going live would also be a great way of advertising as well. If that's something you're interested to. I'm not trying to sell you on selling rocks. That's just my personality. I'll always do that. Heck yeah, go live, man. Clean some rocks. It's actually kind of a cool content idea. And with that, I do believe it's time to go outside and touch some grass. It is currently 8:40 p.m. in my neck of the woods, and it is also daylight outside. And I tend to enjoy the last little bit of daylight that I can outside to get the rest of my yard work done. It doesn't always happen, but when the time comes, we on go. So with that, I do believe it's time to go outside and touch some grass. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. If today's your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.